It's not about whether or not you're angry with God. It's about how do you engage the Father while you're still angry with Him. Hello, hello. Today's topic is going to be a little bit controversial, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed because it's an issue that a lot of people in the body of Christ deal with and don't really communicate it very well with others because of the way the church defines what it means to be angry with God, because that's really what this is about. It's learning how to navigate your relationship with the Father while you're actually in a state of anger towards Him. And let me start off by saying this: you have permission to be angry with God. And the reason why I'm addressing it that way is because the Father already knows. And really, if you think about it, anger is not something you could just shut off. If you angry with God, you can't just turn that off with praise and thanks and gratitude. There's something else going on that has to be addressed. And usually when it gets to the point where there's anger there, there's hurt there. There's a sense of not having control over your own life. There's a sense of feeling unsafe. If you feel unsafe in your relationship with God, then that also indicates that your perception of the Father is that He's untrustworthy. And the reason why that actually might be the case is because let's say you've been saved for 10, 15, 20 years, and then your child dies 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. That's going to be real difficult to process because, Father, you let this happen to my child. Or maybe you had circumstances that happened in your childhood where you were abandoned, you were hated, you were rejected by your own parents. And because of that, you never really knew what love really was. And so your life took a turn of events based off of decisions that you made because you didn't have the tools early on in childhood to really be an effective, mature, responsible adult. So there may be an aspect of you that's angry because you felt like you got the short end of the stick when it came to life. So you can't turn that anger off. The Father already knows. If He's omnipotent, omnipresent, omni everything, then guess what? He knows that that's how you feel about Him. And I really don't think God is so insecure within Himself where He's going to be mad at you because you angry with Him. God is ever bounding in love and patience and long suffering and peace. He's all of those attributes. And what better way for the Father to express that to you in that state that you're in? So it starts off with number one, being upfront and honest with the Father about the true condition of your heart. Because the whole point for the Father with you is to develop a relationship with you. And He can use that opportunity to bring you into a greater knowledge and a greater awareness of His nature and character towards you. Because to be perfectly honest, when we get to a point where we're really angry with God, we really do lack understanding of His true authentic nature and character. But that doesn't take away the fact that that's how you feel at that moment. So the way that you engage anger towards the Father is you have a dialogue with Him about it. But what people tend to do is there's this sense of guilt and shame because the church says I'm not supposed to be angry with God. So I can't really express how I feel. So I'm just not going to say anything. So I'll probably go and continue to do church things. Because if you feel that the Father is untrustworthy, then you're not really going to want to engage Him or be that involved with Him. So, what would be some of the things that you may say to the Father because of the anger that's there? You may say things like, well, Father, why didn't you protect me? You're supposed to be a loving God and a kind and a compassionate God, and you allowed this to happen to me. Why did you allow this to happen to me? There has to be a level of authenticity in your interaction with the Father. I mean, because you got to think about it. I mean, God told Jonah, I need you to go to Nineveh and tell them what I said. And what was his response to that? Not only was his response no, he went in the opposite direction. But check this out though. Have you ever considered that the Father putting Jonah in the whale was an element of protection for him? Because the Father could have just taken him out because he disobeyed and He told him no. But He put him in a place where he was honestly safe until he got spit up on shore to end up doing what the Father told him to do. And even after he did what the Father told him to do, he was still angry with God. He was sitting under that tree talking about this. I got a problem with the fact that you actually showed them forgiveness. You should have judged them. And even then, the Father still showed kindness to Jonah. So to say that telling God that you're angry with Him about things that have happened in your life, I seriously doubt that God is going to strike you down for that. That goes against the Father's nature and character. And I'm gonna tell you, I used to say things to God like, I would purposefully cuss God out with the intention of getting a response of judgment, a response of anger and rage. I was expecting that. I was looking forward to that. And part of the reason why I would do that is because for me, it felt like a justification that God is not a loving, kind, and compassionate God. And I could prove it because all I did was tell him what kind of person I think he is, and I don't like him and I want nothing to do with him. And then look, he struck me down. There was this sense of arrogant smugness that came out of me like, see, I was right about you. You're not a good God because look at what you did to me just because little old me cussed you out. Y'all, if I'm still sitting here and I'm able to tell you that you have permission to be where you are, and the Father still loves you regardless, and the Father still wants to be intimate and have a relationship with you, trust me when I tell you, I know what I'm talking about because I can definitely attest to the fact that I should have been dead a long time ago. Should have been dead. Did I reap consequences because of the things that I said? Absolutely. But it wasn't because the Father did it. It was because I was in agreement with the nature and character of the enemy. So I was reaping consequences because I was in alignment with the wrong voice. And everything that comes along with being in alignment with the wrong voice, stuff just happens. But the Father was patient with me. The Father was kind with me. The Father was gentle with me. Now, I can honestly say this. I'm at a place of maturity in my life now where if I tried to talk to God like that, I wouldn't have permission to talk to God like that. But that's because I've experienced and came into the knowledge of his love and kindness so much so where it's a part of who I am. It's not it's not a struggle for me to be able to recognize who the Father is in the midst of suffering, in the midst of pain and opposition. And because I'm in that place, if I were to try to tell God something like that, if I were to try to cuss God out now, he would tell me, you do not have permission to speak to me this way. You know better. Now, not everybody is in that same space. So if you are not in that space, it is okay. It's okay. But what the Father is wanting from all of us is no matter where you are in whatever stage in your life, he wants you to come to him and be real and honest with him about where you are. Because the scripture says this, be angry, but sin not. What does that mean? What does it mean to be angry, but sin not? In this context, what he's saying is, you have permission to be angry with me, but continue to engage me face to face so I can walk with you and work out this grief and work out this sadness and work out this anger. So I can get you to a point where as you continue to engage me face to face, your perception of who I am will begin to change. But if you sin is about what? Missing the mark. But what is the mark that you're missing? You're turning away from the Father because I want nothing to do with you, God, because I'm angry with you because of what you did. I feel like you did it. So I'm going to turn my back away from you. When you turn away from the Father, patterns of behavior begin to develop and you literally become something else because you chose to turn away from the Father. So it's not about whether or not you're angry with God. It's about how do you engage the Father while you're still angry with him? Because he is safe. It's just you're in a space where you don't know that. But the only way you'll get to a point where you begin to come to understand that and know that is you're angry with God and you tell him that you're angry with him and don't move from that spot. You can be angry with him, just don't turn your back away. And that's actually something real difficult because most people have a tendency to get angry and then they boop, get silent. I have nothing to say to you. I don't want to be bothered with you. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If you watching this video, I can guarantee you, you're gonna be one of those individuals where when you try to turn your back on the Father, he right there on the other side of wherever it is that you're looking at, and he gonna be right there with you. He ain't gonna let you go. And no matter where you turn away from the Father will be right where you turn. And he will begin to immerse you in his loving kindness. He will begin to immerse you in his favor because in the midst of your anger, he wants to show you what his favor really looks like. I cannot tell you that just because you choose to turn towards the Father while you're angry doesn't necessarily mean that the anger will dissipate immediately. For some people, it may happen that way. But when you're dealing with like real deep wounds, real deep issues, you will have to consistently turn towards the Father while you're angry with him. You will have to make a conscious effort to engage him face to face while you're in the midst of anger and be willing to hear what he has to say, no matter how angry you are. When it comes to this space, It's like I'm angry, but I still have to choose you. I'm angry with you, but I choose you, even if you don't want to. The reason why there's anger there is because there was an expectation for God to provide and come through in certain areas, and then you felt like He didn't come through in those areas. So you felt like He failed you. Those are the things that need to be addressed to God directly. God, I feel like you failed me. I felt like you just abandoned me. I felt like you weren't there. I felt like you just kind of left me out to die. You left me out to dry. I feel like you don't care. These are the type of conversations that need to be addressed to the Father instead of turning away and choosing to go your own path. And it would be easier to take your own path because why? It seemed like walking with the Father doesn't seem to work. So I'm going to figure out my own way because that way ain't working. Because look, I gave God everything and I felt like He stole from me. It's okay to be angry with God, but it is recommended that you have a dialogue with Him about it. And you continue to have a dialogue with Him about it. And ask the Father to show you what His truth is concerning where you are, concerning where He is. Father, where were you? What's happening? Ask the Father to reveal His love for you in a way that you haven't experienced before. It's almost like requesting an invitation. Father, invite me into your presence. Invite me into your love that I've never seen before because right now I'm extremely angry and it's going to be real difficult to come out of this place. But I need your help coming out of this state of anger. I need your help because I'm not going to be able to do this on my own. I am where I am right now. And the Father will respond to that. He also responds to honesty. If you are honest with Him, He can work with that. But the Father can't work with self-deception because what He has to do is He has to deal with the fact that you're operating in self-deception. Oh, no, I ain't mad at God, when in all actuality, you might be mad at God. I'm not angry at God. But the truth of the matter is the reason why you're not saying you're angry with God because you feel like you're not supposed to be angry with God. When it comes to emotions, there's always a deeper truth that's present that is not being addressed. And the manifestation of whatever emotion that comes up to the surface is actually a byproduct of a deeper truth that's present. That's why addressing the Father with your anger, communicating whatever your truth is at that moment is good because as you're communicating what you think your truth is and asking the Father to help heal and deal with your heart, then He will start to unlock and unveil other aspects or other truths within you that you didn't even know that was there. Everything will always be about intimacy with Him or the lack thereof. This anger could be used as an opportunity for growth, maturity, and development. There is a place beyond the anger, but it's a matter of going through the weeds of the anger to get to the fact that you can breathe. Everything will always be turning towards Him. And if you make a conscious decision to continue to choose Him in spite of how you're feeling, in spite of what you're thinking, then the Father will unlock and unveil Himself to you in a way that you've never seen before. And it will bring healing and restoration, not only to your soul, but to the people that are around you as well. So I hope that helps. And I hope y'all have a good day. Until next time.